What follows is a system-level analysis. We're going to examine why artificial intelligence does not inherently increase human intelligence. So let's start with a central question. Does getting information faster mean you're getting smarter? The default assumption is, of course, yes. But when you look at how the system actually behaves, you find the opposite is often true. The core problem here is a fundamental mismatch between two systems. On one hand, you have AI, which is designed to optimize for external efficiency, getting you an output as quickly as possible. But human intelligence, well, it's not an output. It's the result of an internal process, one that requires effort. So right away, the objectives of these two systems are not aligned. Section 1. Two learning systems compared. Here, we're going to do a structural breakdown of how learning happens, looking at two different systems for getting a task done. First, let's look at the human learning system. This entire process is driven by effort. It starts when you engage with a problem. The next step is a crucial one. You attempt to actively recall information. This inevitably leads to cognitive struggle. You're going to generate errors. But those errors are key, because you then use feedback to make corrections. That correction process is what drives memory encoding and ultimately helps you form a durable mental schema. This process is slow, for sure, but its output is internal capability. Now, let's contrast that with the AI dominant system. Here, you encounter a task, and the first step is to prompt the AI. A solution is generated instantly. The user then passively reads it. Notice the difference? This engages recognition. Oh, that looks familiar. Not recall. It completely bypasses the entire sequence of struggle and correction that's absolutely required for learning. So when we analyze the outputs of these two systems side by side, the trade-off becomes very clear. The human learning system, well, it's slow, and its accuracy might be moderate at first, but the result is high internal capability. The AI dominant system is the inverse. It's extremely high in speed and accuracy from the get-go, but the result is low internal capability. The system you choose directly determines the outcome you get. Section 2, the core mechanism. Now we're going to isolate the one critical variable that dictates these outcomes. And that variable is cognitive effort. Think of it as the on-off switch for learning. Learning operates on a principle called desirable difficulty. What this means is that cognitive friction, that feeling of struggle, isn't a bug in the system. It's a necessary feature. That effort is the very signal that tells your brain, hey, this is important. You need to encode this. So when AI removes that difficulty, it also removes the primary stimulus your brain needs for attention. This ties directly into something called the generation effect. The rule is simple. Information you actively generate or have to reconstruct yourself gets encoded into long-term memory. Information you just passively receive does not. The AI-dominant system, by its very nature, pushes you into that passive reception mode, which means the generation effect just never gets to activate. The underlying cognitive process is completely different as well. Active recall is that effortful process of pulling information out of your own memory. This action is what strengthens neural pathways. It's literally how intelligence is built. Passive recognition, on the other hand, is just identifying something familiar when it's put in front of you. AI defaults to recognition, which is dangerous because it creates the illusion of understanding, but it doesn't build any real capability. From a systems perspective, this is all a function of cognitive load allocation. When you outsource the processing effort to an external system, the AI, your internal cognitive mechanisms simply don't need to engage. Your brain is efficient. It conserves energy by not doing work it doesn't have to. And the result is simple. No work means no adaptation, no learning. Section 3, the dependency failure loop. So what's the long-term consequence of always using the AI-dominant system? It's something called a dependency failure loop. Let's analyze how the system behaves over time. Okay, here's how this feedback loop works. Step 1, a task is presented. This immediately leads to using AI for a solution. This, as we've established, reduces your cognitive effort, which prevents any real learning from happening. Now, here's the feedback part. For the next similar task, you are now more dependent on the AI, precisely because your own internal capability didn't increase. The cycle just repeats, and your capability either stagnates or worse, it actually declines. And the critical consequence of this system is a point we need to be very clear on. Recognition creates familiarity, but it does not create capability. After using an AI to get an answer, you feel like you understand the solution. It looks familiar. but because you didn't go through the effortful process of generating it yourself, you are completely unable to reproduce that solution on your own. Section 4. The correct integration model. Now that we've diagnosed the system failure, let's outline the correct model for integrating AI. This is a system that uses AI to support the learning process, not to bypass it. The correct procedure has 3 distinct steps. The first is non-negotiable, an independent attempt. You have to engage in that cognitive struggle on your own without any assistance. Step 2 is AI-assisted feedback. After your attempt, you use AI to check your work, identify your errors, or fill in specific knowledge gaps. And then step 3, which is the most critical part, independent reconstruction. You must solve the problem again, from scratch, without the AI, to ensure you've actually retained it. This correct model operates on 3 rules that are absolutely non-negotiable. Rule 1, no independent attempt means no learning. It's that simple. Rule 2, no errors being generated and then corrected means no cognitive adjustment. And Rule 3, no independent reconstruction means no long-term retention. You have to follow all 3. Section 5, the final system truth. Now we can consolidate this entire analysis into a single, clear cause and effect chain. This will clarify the direct relationship between AI efficiency and human capability. Here is the distilled logic of the system. An increase in AI efficiency leads to a predictable decrease in the user's cognitive effort. This reduction in effort, in turn, causes a decrease in processing depth. That leads to weaker memory encoding. The final output of the system is a decrease in independent capability. And so, this analysis concludes with a simple functional decision rule. The next time you use AI, you have to ask yourself one question. Is this tool replacing my thinking process, or is it supporting my thinking process? Because if it replaces the process, your capability will decrease. If it supports the process, your capability can increase. The outcome is determined entirely by which of these 2 systems you choose to engage.